Welcome back. Virginia's political landscape is shifting, especially after the results we saw come down from election night in Virginia last evening. Joining me now is Rebecca Taylor from the Cook Political Report to help us break down how some of these outcomes are really reshaping the balance of power across the Commonwealth. Jessica, good to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
I just right off the top wanted to ask, what really stood out to you about some of last night's results?
It's really the breadth of the victory. It was not a surprise that Abigail Spanberger won. She was consistently leading in polls, but she's on pace for a 15-point win. I mean, this is the largest win by a Democrat in modern history in Virginia. And then I think one of the better barometers is we're looking at next year's midterm elections. Not just that size of her victory, but when you look at the House of Delegates, that Democrats look like they're going to flip 13 seats. I mean, this was just a massive night across the board for Democrats. And when I look at where some of the key areas were, that Trump, for instance, overperformed in 2024 in Hispanic precincts, we saw 20 plus point shifts. So, I mean, this Trump coalition that he was able to put together of minority voters really on the backs of promising to do a better job with the economy, that Virginia rejected the way that he has governed, I think, for the past year when it comes to immigration enforcement and particularly the economy.
Let's talk a little bit about, how the outcomes from last night essentially positions Virginia ahead of those 2026 midterms. Anything that comes to mind for you there?
Well, I think that Democrats have more momentum in trying to change these district lines. We've seen the massive backlash in the California vote, where they've heavily rejected their own independent commission. We have the state legislature that is trying to get this on a special election ballot. If they succeed, I think the momentum is there because it really seems like voters do feel like, the Republicans sounded the starting gun in Texas of this sort of mid-decade redistricting that's really unprecedented. And so I think that there's a lot of momentum behind Virginia wanting to change this, probably if we look at the results, not just from Virginia, but from across the country last night.
That was my next question too. Like, will what happened in Virginia translate, you think, wider across the board? I know we saw Democratic wins in New Jersey and New York. You mentioned California, the referendum there. As we head into midterms, what this means for Donald Trump, what this means for Democrats. Do you feel like this is the most momentum Democrats have had since they lost the presidential election?
It absolutely is the most momentum. I mean, you have concrete election results that you can point to. But I would caution that when I looked at some of the exit polling, I mean, the Democratic brand is still not popular. But I think that voters are prioritizing sending a message to President Trump over, this wasn't that I think voters are in love with Democrats and their message, but it's really more of a repudiation of Trump. When I look, though, at sort of more broadly, I mean, you have Republicans that are going to want to make, Zoran Mamdani in New York City, the new mayor, sort of the face of the party, a Democratic socialist. But you have Abigail Spanberger here in Virginia, and then Mikey Sherrill, who won in New Jersey. They were part of this class of 2018 national security Democrats that helped Democrats flip back the House. They're moderate. They have these sort of, very, again, military, national security credentials in many ways. And so I think that national Democrats are going to want to point towards someone like Spanberger, like Sherrill as the face of the party instead of Mamdani.
All right, Jessica Taylor with the Cook Political Report. Thank you so much for your time, for the conversation, and for your expertise. We appreciate it.
Thank you.